What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Garden of Sports Fantasy Hockey Podcast. It's me, your boy, Zachary Gardner, alongside my brother Jake Gardner.
Hello, hello.
And today we got a real doozy for you, real humdinger of an episode. We're going to continue our off-season kind of series here, leading up to the regular season here in just a couple weeks. We're going to go today with our Jake and I's big list of breakout players, sleeper players, just projecting like a bunch of like good value guys that you might be able to get in like the mid to late rounds of drafts that can really fill out your team. I mean, none of these guys are projected to be like, first 5-6 round picks. So like you can get a lot of these guys like in those middle rounds where really championship teams are built. So we got a lot of information for you today. So we just hope you sit back, grab your cup of coffee, and just listen to us talk some hockey for you.
Yeah, and we'll have to timestamp this as well so that
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
skip to what you want to.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. I can't wait to sit down and edit that. So that's gonna be fun. But just real quick before we get started, we were planning on having Sean Burke, our buddy, that's our friend that's been with us the last couple episodes, that you've all been able to get to know here these last couple episodes. We wanted to have him for this week, but Sean, ever the outdoorsman, adventurer, he forgot, it slipped his mind that he was going to go climb a mountain today. So he's up in the woods of Colorado in the mountains, hiking up a mountain. So he's just enjoying his adventurous lifestyle, and that's pretty fucking awesome. We're planning, we're going to do a mock draft next week, and we'll have Sean back for that one. But yeah, that's why he's not here today. He's out there living his best life. So gotta love it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone really cares, but let's jump into this.
Yeah, but you know what? I think we do, so I think it's worth noting.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so without any further stalling, let's just jump into this here. Let's go breakout players. All right, so starting it off here, I got on my list of like breakout guys, I have Jesper Bratt, the young winger on the New Jersey Devils. He's starting to come into his own. He definitely, if you watched any Devils games last year, he's driving a lot of play, which I love to see from young guys that I'm trying to pick for breakouts. He is very noticeable on the ice when he's out there, and it's a huge sign of sustainability when you see a guy just kind of starting to get that comfortability, that confidence to just kind of try all the stuff, and like he's doing all kinds of crazy dangling out there. He's hitting guys. It's just pretty fun to watch. I love watching that style. And I think there's even a higher level he can get to. He had a really nice year last year. He was a really good like waiver pickup like halfway through the season. But I really am a big fan of Bratt for this season. 76 games last year. He had 26 goals and 47 assists, 18 power play points. And last year, his Corsi 4 percentage at even strength, you want that to be above 50%. So like 50% is kind of like the average for this stat. So if you're below 50%, that means that when you're on the ice, your team is not controlling the puck. You're in defense more than you're like controlling the puck. And if you're above 50%, that means that you and your team when you're on the ice is controlling the puck more often. So you want that number to be higher than 50%. And last season, his Corsi 4 percentage was 54.1%. So when he was out there on the ice, his team was controlling the puck more often than they weren't controlling the puck, which is a good sign of development from a young player. So that's a nice little stat to look at when you're looking at potential breakout guys. And his shooting percentage last year was not the highest of his career, and he took a lot more shots. His highest of his career was like 4 years ago at 15.8%, and that's really high. Last year it was at 13.2%, which is still pretty high. And he also had 100 more shots than he's ever taken, than he's ever had in any season of his career. So last year, he really just started putting it all together. Had 200 shots when his career high before that was 101 shots. 13.2 shooting percentage. It's kind of like on the a little above his average for shooting percentage, but I believe with him taking more shots and everything and driving play more, I think that might be a little more sustainable for him. So big fan of Jesper Bratt, and I got a little bit of numbers for you. So maybe you guys can be looking for him in like your mid rounds. He'd be a very nice player. Uh,
Sure.
all right. So moving on to our next guy. You have anything to add for Jesper Bratt, Jake?
No, Jesus. I'm good.
Okay, just chime in, whenever. If you have anything to add. Ivan Barbashev, the young forward on St. Louis Blues. Sorry, excuse me. He really came into his own last season, similar to Bratt. I think he keeps improving and getting better this season. I'm definitely interested in him. If somebody takes him, I between Barbashev and Bratt, I'd be looking more into Bratt. But if I can get Barbashev too, I wouldn't be disappointed. He last year in 81 games played, he had 26 goals, 34 assists, 9 power play points, and he's a bit of a banger too. 160 bangs, 160 hits last year. And then I'm just gonna go into his. So his Corsi for percentage. That's that number I was explaining that you want that to be at 50% or more. His was at 42.5 last season, so a little below average. He was playing. Looks like when he was on the ice, they're playing defense a little more. That's not a stat that necessarily means that it's all his fault. Because I mean that's a you and the 4 other guys on the ice. When you're out there stat. But it is, you want that. If that's above 50%, usually that means that player is driving a little more play. So this guy, he's not. That Corsi 4 is a little bit lower, 42.5, but it's, just something to note. His shooting percentage last year was at 23.4%. That is insane. And he took like 3 times more shots than he's ever taken in any season so far of his career. So last year was a big breakout year. I'm anticipating that shooting percentage comes down from 23.4. But so I mean I still like Ivan Barbashev because I think he's on a good team, but like there's a little bit of stuff that you notice that's like, oh, last year he had some crazy high numbers on some things. So but I'm still looking at him in like the later rounds because I feel like where you're going to be drafting him anyway, it's not going to be like terrible value if he, you're going to be getting him in the late rounds. So I don't think, I think that he'd still be a good, decent player to add later in the draft. So there's just some things to note about that, like Corsi 4 and that shooting percentage being very unsustainably high last year. So just keep that in mind when you're looking. Maybe if he's ranked the same as Jesper Bratt, you would jump all over Bratt before Barbashev. Our first defenseman on the list here, Noah Dobson. His second half of last season was very killer. He should start to maybe get into that top 15 D-men this year, that top 20, top 15. I think he squeaks into there, and he's going to become more of a household name. The talent is definitely there. Can he put it together for a full season, though? We haven't really seen that from him. We've seen like, spurts of really great offensive numbers, but we haven't seen him for a whole season, put it together. Last season, in 80 games played, he had 13 goals, 38 assists, and 22 power play points. You love the power play points from defensemen. 22 is a good number for a forward, power play points. So that is definitely something to be excited about. And then I got his Corsi 4, 46.2%. He's a defenseman, so that's not the greatest thing to look at, the Corsi 4 at even strength, but that just tells me what we already know about the Islanders. They don't have a great group of forwards, so they're not in the offensive zone a lot. So he is playing defense a lot, and he is a good defenseman. last year his shooting percentage was the highest of his career at almost 7% at 6.8%. He took 190 shots. He was definitely given the green light to try more offensively the second half of last year. And yeah, total shots attempted 401 when the previous high was 142. So they were really just telling him go out there and shoot the puck, and he did it. And he did it at a pretty successful level. I'm very high on Noah Dobson this year, and he'd be a steal really in any round that you can get him because I know he's not going to be ranked up with like the top defensemen. So if you get this guy in like the 10th, 11th round, he's gonna way outperform that because I think he's having his breakout year this year. What do you think about Noah Dobson, Jake? I know you kind of like him, right?
Yeah, no, I like him a lot as a mid-tier defenseman on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
Definitely a target if I can get him. I mean, it's gonna be tough.
Oh, it definitely will. Uh, and then moving on, we got another guy here, Jack Hughes.
Hell yeah.
Um, he's gonna be a breakout superstar this season if he stays healthy. 49 games played last year, 26 goals and 30 assists. So that's 56 points in 49 games, 14 power play points. He did have some injuries last year. Obviously, only 49 games played, just above half the season. Um, so if he was playing a full season, he was on pace for like in the mid to high 90s, almost pushing 100 points. So I'm all over Jack Hughes. I think he's gonna be like.
Yeah, it's been frustrating the past couple years because everyone's been drafting him for this reason, but it might finally be coming together. I feel
Hmm.
like it's been a letdown lately, so I
Last
wouldn't.
year wasn't a letdown when he was on the ice, but yeah, the injuries last year,
Yeah, he missed a lot.
but when he was on the ice, he was making things happen. He was looking like a young Patrick Kane almost out there.
Dang.
Um, but yeah, last year his Corsi 4, that's where he wanted above 50%. 53.3% last year, so he's definitely driving some play, playing in the offensive zone a lot. His shooting percentage last year was twice what his previous high at 15.8%. Um,
Hmm.
he had 165 shots last year, which is kind of his normal range of shots. So he just was sniping a lot better last year, basically. So there's a lot of things to like about that. Averaging 19 minutes, 34 seconds time on ice. You love to see it. And if that can increase, he could be even better. He's their number one center, so he's going to be out there for a lot of the big time moments. He's their young stud. So, and
Hmm.
I love him and Bratt on the same line too. I mean, that's a pretty good combination.
For sure.
I'm all over Jack Hughes. Um, and then this next guy, Jake, you want to take this next guy?
Yep, Jordan Kyrou. It will be
Yes.
another great year for him, and he has solidified himself as a top center. And he just signed a big extension. They obviously believe in him. 23 years old, 8-year extension, $65 million.
Yeah.
And one of the fastest guys on the ice. You really can't go wrong with that type of player. And he was averaging over 4 fantasy points a game the beginning of last season. And then I think he's just a young guy who ran out of gas,
Hmm.
maybe. But maybe he can keep it together a full year here.
Maybe. He reminds me of a young Jonathan Taves. I'm a really big fan.
Oh, but faster, right? I mean,
I think faster, but he plays like,
he's got
that
like
just
the Kane speed.
yeah, it's pretty fun to watch him. So yeah,
Sure.
what were like his numbers last year?
74 games played, 27 goals, 48 assists, 19
Nine,
PPP.
yeah, 19 power play points. Um,
So
yeah,
it was pretty good. He started out way hotter than how he ended. That makes
yeah,
sense. Still a
yeah.
great year.
Oh, definitely a great year, and his shooting percentage kind of a little high, but like looking over his previous seasons, it's kind of like where he kind of sits at. So maybe that's just normal for him. He took
Hmm.
188 shots last year, 14.4 shooting percentage, um, 1635 time on ice, his career high time on ice. I think that's going to keep going up as he he keeps developing and they trust him more in every situation. I'm gonna try and see if I can see his face-off percentage here. Well, face-off percentage was not great last year, 40%. You don't like to see that for a center. So hopefully he can get better at that, because for a number one center, if that's what he's gonna be, you gotta be above. You gotta win more of your. You gotta win at least close to 50%
But
of
are
your
there? I
face-offs.
mean, does that matter for fantasy?
Not as much for fantasy, but I mean a little bit for fantasy, because you can look at that and be like, oh, if he's bad at winning face-offs, you know, that's less time in the zone for him to be on offense. Maybe if that face-off percentage was like 52%, we could see him have even crazier numbers. But I mean, he still puts up great fantasy numbers. So that if you're not in any kind of league that counts face-off stats, it's not really something to worry about. But just me as like Mr. Hockey guy looking at the face-off percentage, it's like he could be even better if he could bring that up.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go to the next guy here, Troy
Yeah.
Terry. He did kind of. I mean, he was a rookie, so just anything you got was a surprise, right? He was a rookie, right?
He was a
his
rookie.
second year.
Yep.
Okay.
Last year was his rookie year.
So he had a really good beginning where he was averaging 4 fantasy points, and he's in a really good offense now. Last year, the team started out hot, but they weren't supposed to do anything. Like, it just wasn't as stacked as it is now, right, Zach?
Yeah, and it came out of nowhere. All the young guys were developing really quick.
And those two old defensemen were like flash in the pan. I don't know, like back in time, remember?
Yeah, everybody, and then including the guy that retired. Oh my God, why can't I never remember their names? The center, Ryan Getzlaff, was having an amazing year for like the first couple months. It was it was definitely turning back the clock last year for the Ducks, and then the young guys were developing too at the same time, like Zegras and Troy Terry. So it was a fun like first half of the year for the Ducks, and then they started coming back down to earth the second half of the season.
Yeah, ran out of cocaine. But now they got Klingberg, and he will move the puck well and really help the top line on the power play. Yeah. And also I think just Troy Terry has gotten to see how hard an NHL season is, and he's had a whole offseason to prep more. And I think he just ran out of gas last year, right?
Yeah,
kind of like Kyrou.
He did kind of similar to that. But I think him and Zegras are going to be putting the league on notice this year. They're going to be a hell of a duo. But as much as I like Troy Terry, I'm even more excited about Trevor Zegras.
Okay, for sure.
So, but what were his numbers last year?
75 games played, 37 goals, 30 assists, 15 power play points.
Oh yeah.
So pretty good. It's just like by the end of fantasy season, I almost dropped him, or I did in playoffs, because he was under 3. Like his average it dipped. Like it kept. It's like the Ducks just couldn't do anything later in the season. So.
Oh, you know what? I am totally wrong. Troy Terry was not a rookie last year. He's been in the league last year was his 5th year.
Really?
Yeah, he's been like a 3rd or 4th line guy though. His rookie year, he only played 2 games at the end of the season, 10 minutes time on ice.
Oh wow, my bad, guys.
2018-19, 14 minutes. He's been at 14 minutes for 3 seasons, and then last year, his 5th season, he went up to 18 minutes time on ice. So last year was like his big year where he got more playing time. So it was like
he's still only 25 years old too.
Yeah, he's been in the league basically since he was drafted. So.
You mean like, yeah, well, okay.
And his Corsi 4 is at 50.1%, so that's right at league average. That's right at where you want it to be at average. So 50%.
Sorry, 50 I didn't know why I thought he was a rookie. I thought I read that somewhere.
Last year was the first year that he really got noticed, kind of, getting more ice time.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and then our next guy here I'll take. I really like this guy a lot, Robert Thomas. He's no longer feeling unwell.
I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell.
Oh my gosh.
he broke the fuck out last year, and he's gonna keep ascending to superstardom this next season. I'm a big Robert Thomas fan. I just love that guy. He plays a different style where he gets more assists. So just, he's not like a big goal scorer, but he gets you assists and he gets you power play points. So just onward and upward for him. I just think he continues that trajectory. Last year in 72 games played, he had 20 goals and 57 assists for 77 points, and he had 14 power play points. And he was like a second line guy, third line guy. He was like a middle six forward most of last season. So I think and then in the playoffs, he started, by the end of the season and in the playoffs, they started having him up on the top line where the guy belongs. They finally, did something right and moved him up. Big fan of Robert Thomas. So I just think he continues that upward trajectory. So yeah, last year his shooting percentage was at 17.4%, which is really high for him. Like his highest of his career. He had 115 shots, and he had over 4 more minutes on time on ice, 18 minutes, 46 seconds time on ice. So he really broke out in a big way last year, and just I'm looking for similar, if not better, things for him this year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's no longer feeling unwell.
Oh my god.
Moving on here, Tage Thompson. He broke out last season. I think he's going to stay on the top line with Alex Tuch and Jeff Skinner. Last year in 78 games played, he had 38 goals and 30 assists and 16 power play points. He was really like a second half guy where he kept putting up numbers and you're just like, do I trust it to add him? He's on Buffalo and they suck. But you just see him every game. He just keeps putting up numbers and it's like at some point you just had to add him. And he became like a fixture on most people's teams. Definitely teams that went to the playoffs and picked up a guy like this, averaging, close to 4, averaging like 3.7, 3.6 in our league last year, Jake. I mean, this guy really helped as a waiver wire pick in the second half of the season. So I'm thinking he continues that this year, playing a full season with Alex Tuch and Jeff Skinner. I mean, that's a really good first line. So Buffalo might have a little something going this year.
For sure.
And then we'll move on here to one of my favorite players for this next season. It just sucks that I'm mentioning him on the podcast because now Jake's going to know about him and everybody's going to, hear about him. This is like my guy this is like my league winning guy right here. Jason Robertson, huge fan. This guy has superstar written all over him. He has kept improving every year, and I think he will do the same this year. Last year in 74 games played, he had 41 goals and 38 assists and 21 power play points. His Corsi for percentage is 55.7% last season. His offensive zone start percentage, which is basically your offensive zone faceoffs that took place while he's on the ice. So 65.4%. It's a very good number. And his shooting percentage was 18.6 last year, which is pretty high. But the way he broke out, 220 shots on goal, and 18 minutes and 7 seconds time on ice. I just think that it all is gonna add up to him having an even bigger breakout year this year. I think he's a point per game player, and I'm just a huge fan of his. I've had him for the last 2 years. I picked him up 2 years ago his rookie year, and then I had him on my team last year, and he's just very impressive for a young player.
Wow, a little stroke of the cock there for you.
So yeah, that's Jason Robertson, my guy. And then we'll move on here to another guy that I really like, and I'm going to try and get in the late rounds. I think this guy's a steal this year.
Jesus, what a list.
Mason Marchment. He was very good last year on a stacked Panthers team with very little ice time. So in a seemingly bigger role in Dallas, I think this guy could be even better than he was last year, which was pretty damn decent. In 54 games played last season, he had 18 goals and 29 assists and 2 power play points, all while playing on the third and fourth line, getting like 13 minutes a game. So that's pretty pretty crazy numbers for a third line forward last year. So I'm just looking for him being on like that second line, possibly first line on Dallas, and putting up kind of who knows what kind of numbers he can put up with more like 17, 18 minutes ice time, which he could possibly get because he's proved last year that he's talented, too talented to be down on those bottom lines. So he definitely is not going to be a third or fourth line player on Dallas. He's going to be on that first line or second line. We just got to see how much better he does with more ice time. But I'm a big fan, Mason Marchment. If you see him later in drafts, that's a name to consider.
For sure.
And then Jake, you got the next guy?
Yes, sir. Cole Caulfield. This one was a rookie. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but
yeah,
it was the second year.
Second year.
Okay. His second half last year was stellar, and if he keeps on this trend, he'll be a top winger this year on a young team. Wasn't he already the top winger? No? Was he? I thought he was like one of their best players.
They roll lines in Montreal, so I mean they might have played him on the top line, but they
know
move
what?
they move everybody around.
It went through waves because he did get reduced minutes at one point. I do remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be a very fun season. And his stats last year: 67 games played, 23 goals, 20 assists, 13 power play points, and he was getting low minutes.
And that's with him being sent down too for like a couple months, and he came back for like the last part of the year.
Yeah, but remember in the beginning when he was breaking out, it was like 14 minutes a game, and then the second half it might have been more.
Yeah, when they brought him back and he started putting up numbers, then they gave him more minutes, and by the end of the season, he was getting like 16, 17 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, big target of mine.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Cole Caulfield. The shooting percentage last year was 12.2. His rookie year, the year before, was 13.3. So, he seems to be around that 12-13 percentage. So if that's his, normal numbers, I don't think that's anything that screams. I mean, we still have to really, I'm not going to say anything sustainable or unsustainable for him because we haven't seen consistently him out there on the ice, so you're kind of definitely going to be projecting. If you're a Cole Caulfield guy, you might be wanting him. Some people might not want him. Just they worry about him a little bit because there's been plenty of red flag stuff with how he plays, then gets sent down and comes back, and it's been kind of weird with him. So you definitely got to project that he's going to play a full season, and he has the talent to do it. So you just sometimes you gotta make those tough choices on guys.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then next year I got Trevor Zegras. Could break out into superstardom this season. Anaheim is ready to roll, and he's the unquestioned number one center. His stats last year: 75 games played, 23 goals, 38 assists, 17 power play points. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. He was kind of like similar to Troy Terry in that they had a super great first half, and then everybody's numbers declined as a team because the team started playing worse. But I think should be a better year ahead. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I think so too. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I'm gonna be all over trying to get him.
You like him more than
year.
Terry?
I do like him more than Terry. I think Zegras is the more
he's younger
skilled.
too.
I think Terry is going to benefit more from Zegras than Zegras will benefit from Terry.
Okay.
His Corsi 4 last season was 51.5%. That's pretty good. More often than not, they're controlling the puck. And then his offensive zone start percentage, which is the amount of offensive zone faceoffs that takes place while he's on the ice, was at 73.5%. So 74% of the faceoffs Zegras takes are in the offensive zone. You love to see that. His faceoff percentage is 40%, so not great. But I mean, I think as he gets older and bigger, he'll get better at that. I mean, if he's going to be a number one center, he's going to have to improve that. So I mean, this could be another breakout year for him.
For sure.
So, big fan of Trevor Zegras. I'm going to be trying to get him really hard.
Oh, okay. Zach likes it.
Yeah, and then I'll take this next guy here. Jake knows this is one of my defensemen I always like to get on my team every year.
I'm taking him this year.
John Klingberg. He should be top line, top power play in Anaheim. I expect normal, awesome Klingberg numbers. I mean, the guy is just Mr. Defensive Machine. You know that you're going to get consistent play from him, and he's just someone you never have to worry about. I don't get why more people don't, I don't get why he's always ranked kind of where he is every year. He's always a phenomenal player for me, but last year, 74 games played, 6 goals, 41 assists, 20 power play points. That's just Mr. Steady John Klingberg, right there. He's going to do similar, if not better this year, on a little bit more younger of a team. I think he's going to put up similar numbers to that, maybe a little better, maybe a little less, but I think he's still going to be right around where he always is, and I just think he's Mr. Steady. So, big John Klingberg guy.
For sure. No, I like him a lot too. I mean, in fantasy, in our league scoring at least, he's averaged steadily over 3 points per game in fantasy. So he's not like a top defenseman, but he's going to fill out.
There are some years where he's been top 10 with averaging over 4. So I mean, he's just.
It sounds like it's behind him because I've never seen it.
Well, I mean, 2 years ago, literally from 2 years ago to 5 years ago. I mean, those 4 years, he was usually always up there in the top 15, top 10.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, I guess.
Last year was a bit of a down year with Heiskanen starting to break out and him getting a little bit less time.
Okay.
So his numbers went down a little bit, but yeah. We can move on to the next guy here, Jake. Who you got?
Yep. So big guy on Klingberg. My next guy, Thomas Chabot. Ottawa is ready. He will be a top power play for the season, and it's a stacked offense. He could squeak into the top 10 possibly this season. Last year he had 59 games played, 7 goals, 31 assists, 13 power play points. How confident are you in him, Zach? Because I'm very
like
confident. Him, but
I'm going to be trying to get him for sure, and he could be a league-winning move because he's going to be ranked later.
Okay.
And potential for top 10 with him with Ottawa's stacked offense, and he's the unquestioned, number 1 defenseman. There's nobody that's going to unseat him.
Average draft position on ESPN is 131.1. How far would you reach on Chabot if you're that big of a...
I'm gonna try and wait till around then to get him, but I mean, I would take him around the 90s, and especially in our league. I try to take him 7th, 8th, 9th round.
For sure.
I think he's going to be that good.
Unless Ben keeps him.
He might. So I'm hoping he doesn't.
He's got the biggest keepers.
Yeah. So I'm hoping he doesn't keep him because otherwise I'd be trying to draft him. But yeah, we'll see.
For sure.
Moving on here, we got Miro Heiskanen. Yeah, he's going to be the unquestioned top line, top power play now. In Dallas with Klingberg off to Anaheim. So let's kind of see how good he can be, which I think is pretty damn good. Last year in 70 games played, he had 5 goals, 31 assists, 11 power play points. And really, since he started breaking out the last 1.5, 2 years, he's been taking some zone time away from John Klingberg, so I think that definitely the two of them are going to benefit from being on other teams now. So I'm going to be trying to get Klingberg and Heiskanen because they're both going to be leading their respective teams now. So I think both these guys are going to put up really good numbers this year. Big Miro Heiskanen guy.
For sure. I also like him a lot. I don't know what else to add, but
yeah, I mean, he's just young. He could be better than Klingberg this year, running basically being getting all the defensive zone time and power play time and everything. I think Heiskanen is a really big, nice sleeper for this season.
Yeah, it should be good.
And these are those things that you got to project if you want to have a really good team. You got to project breakout stuff because you always got to be thinking about who the next young guy is going to be because that's where you fill out your team in the later rounds. Everybody gets good players in the first 3-4 rounds, so you got to really do your research for the middle rounds. That's where you win your league.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm just, not too much to say about Heiskanen. I think most people know that he's a young, promising, player. So I just feel
Yeah.
like it's not crazy to project like him running his own team, running the whole team now. I think that he'll be, good numbers. So, I mean, that's just a guy, and he'll be ranked later. So I just like the value for him. Next guy here, Nikolai Ehlers. I've always been a fan of this guy. His problem is he's kind of injury prone and he'll miss a lot of games, but I think if he can stay healthy, he gets back to his career averages. Last year in 62 games played, he had 28 goals and 27 assists, 9 power play points. And I know, Nikolai Ehlers is usually pretty consistent when he is out there. I think most people that play fantasy hockey know Nikolai Ehlers. He's usually a pretty good fantasy player. So I'm just projecting he'll have get back to like how he was a couple years ago, where he was like a stud when he played the full season. So, I'm a big fan of Ehlers. He'll be ranked a little lower. And I think he'll be a steal wherever he's ranked. He usually always is a steal. He's one of those guys that's never ranked where he should be.
Okay. And our next guy, almost, I mean, you could say it's a breakup, but he might be a sleeper as well because it's Bowen Byram. His average
He's more of a sleeper, I think.
Yeah, his average draft position is 218.7. He's low owned in ESPN. I think he will be the Devin Taves of this year. Like Taves will face some regression. Byram could become that guy, and man, I really would switch him to sleeper, but also could be breakout. He's got to get the increased minutes for sure to really take on that mantle, but he could do it.
Yeah,
rank 218 or average draft position 218. If you just reach a little higher,
and
like
he's
200, you'll get him.
He's an offensive defenseman too, which you love to see. I mean, that's why I'm projecting he'll have good numbers, because last season his Corsi for percentage as a defenseman was 53.4%. I mean, he's in the offensive zone a lot, and he has Cale Makar, one of the best offensive defensemen in the leagues, to look up to. And I think that he takes a lot from his game. And last year he had a 10.2 shooting percentage. And the only thing with Bowen Byram is he's got concussion stuff to worry about. He gets a lot of concussions. So that's definitely something to note. But I think he's going to start breaking out this year and forcing them to give him more ice time.
For sure.
Yeah, hell yeah. And then our first goalie on the list here, I got Alexander Georgiev. Finally, he's the number one goalie, and he's on the Stanley Cup winning team from last season. A great team in front of him. If he struggles, that's going to be a huge disappointment. He's probably going to be overdrafted, but I think the juice could be worth the squeeze just because he's on Colorado, and people are going to be overdrafting him for sure. I mean, if he falls, I'll be all over Georgiev, but I don't know if I'm going to be taking him with that top, when that first run of goalies goes. I don't know if I'm going to be doing Georgiev then. I would love to get Georgiev as like a second goalie. So.
Yeah, no, I really like him. I think we talked about him in our first or second off-season episode, and
we did.
We were all, squeezing his balls, like we just love this guy. So,
yeah,
if you want him as your second goalie, though, not like your first, but
yeah, but I think people will be overdrafting him because that's just usually what happens. People get excited about goalies on good teams, so
we'll see. But
it's
always hard to fill in your goalie. So you're right. His average draft position is 126.6.
But there's always a run on goalies where everybody takes in
our league it's early on, dude. It's freaking annoying.
Yeah, and then you just have to take a goalie, because everybody's taking goalies. So
no,
if
you don't have
one,
to.
Yeah, you can usually wait.
If that happens in your league, my strat is usually just at least get one. But then because they're drafting goalies, all these value picks are left, and that's how I usually fill out my team. And I've been a top team the past couple of years because of that, because people are doing this stupid strategy.
Yeah,
it's
and
annoying.
You can find there's plenty of value goalies that you can get that are always like later in drafts. So like,
yeah.
But if you have if your mind is set on one of those studs, you kind of gotta see what everybody's doing, and if everybody's gonna making a run on goalies, you might have to just for one round just take your goalie that you really want, and then just fill in the rest of your team from there. But like sometimes you got to go off what the draft room is doing, how it how everybody's drafting. So you got to change up your strategy sometimes. But yeah, that's Georgiev. Big fan of him. Lastly, here for the breakout guys, Mackenzie Weegar. The dude is insane. He's on a new team now. He went from Florida to Calgary Flames, and I think he's going to get more ice time and even more power play time. It's going to make him even better. Dude's a banger. He does everything: hits, blocks, shoots, scores, passes. He's a really, really awesome player. Last year in 80 games played, he had 8 goals, 36 assists, and 3 power play points. And he had 179 hits last season. That's why he's just very well rounded. In a categories league, the dude's like an early round pick. But like, in our league, you can get good value on him, Jake, because he gets those hitting points too. He'll be ranked pretty low and a lot lower than other top
weird.
defensemen.
He's down. His draft position's 96.2. I would reach.
Yeah, I would reach.
I would reach up to 70 in a banger league.
Yeah, I would be taking him around then too for sure. I definitely easy 20 spots ahead, and you'll still be getting value on him in our like points banger league. So
yeah.
So yeah, now that's all the breakout guys. We'll move on to bounce back players now. So first off, for bounce back, I'm going to talk about this older defenseman, Brent Burns. He should carry Carolina's power play. 60 plus points is very much in play for him. Despite his age, he's still very productive and still very durable. I expect top level numbers from him this year, given the team that he's on. What do you think, Jake?
Ooh, yeah!
I think the soundbite said it for me, but yeah, we talked about it in our last week's episode. A lot about him if you want to hear even more about him, guys. But this guy's going to be a beast this year. He could bounce back, maybe not to top 5, but back into top 10 for sure as a defenseman. And his average draft position is, okay, they are projecting him correct. His average draft position is 45.4. So that's going to be
good spot.
Yeah, you're going to have to try to get him in maybe the end of the 3rd round if you really want him. Because I don't think he'll last a 45, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I got to see because he's on the new team in our league that Kelton, Sean's buddy, took over that team for Robbie. Brent Burns is on that team, so I'm interested to see if Kelton decides to keep Brent Burns or not. Projecting, I don't know what he's going to do. I'm interested to see.
Yeah, well, we're just saying for the viewers.
But yes, for if you're not in a keeper league, Brent Burns definitely end of the 3rd round, wrapping into the 4th, beginning of the 4th round is definitely a good spot for him if you're really high on him, if you want to take him, where he's ranked. I think that's a good spot. But we're also in a points league that values defensemen, so we're kind of chomping at the bit.
True.
Next guy, Jake. Jake's a big believer. This is Jake's favorite player.
God, no.
So yeah, Jake put this guy on the list, typed this out here. No, this is all me. And you guys, leave your comments. Tell me how dumb I am. It's okay. I want to hear from everyone what they think. But
oh my God.
Jonathan Toews.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Definitely would be a surprise. Thank you, Chancellor Palpatine there.
Dude is washed and collecting a paycheck at this point.
Definitely would be a surprise, but the talent is still there. I think, last year he was dealing with some concussion issues. Sean was touching on it. There was rumors of like some blood disorder or possibly concussions that he was sat him out last season. I think if he can play a full year, I think that he'll be more fantasy relevant, but I don't believe we've seen the last of Toews. I think he's going to have a sneaky decent year this year and be a guy people are thinking about for like a waiver pickup because he's definitely not going to get drafted. But this is definitely a guy you could put on your watch list and just see what's going on. I mean, if he goes on a couple of weeks where he's really scoring well, you might want to think about adding him and just see how, just be along for the ride because he's not going to, I think there's some juice left in that. I think there's some juice left that you can squeeze out of him. So
Definitely. definitely not for me. But
Okay.
for you, dude, I can't wait for you to waste a pick, and that'll get me value with my picks. So
Yes, I'm not gonna draft him, so I'll,
you're
he
not
could be
gonna
a
draft
free.
him?
No, he's gonna be a free agent. I'm
Why would you put
saying
okay? You're
I'm
saying
thinking that
bounce back.
I'm thinking he'll bounce
Yeah,
back.
he'll go from 1.5 fantasy points per game to 1.9. It'll be nice.
I'm all here for it.
Next bounce back, John Gibson. He's really improved this season, and he has a better defense with Klingberg. Hopefully, the super talented goalie can have a top 5 campaign, and that's exactly what you're going to draft him for as your second goalie. His average draft position is 165. I think that's a safe goalie pick
He is one of the safest goalie picks.
later. Yeah,
Even on a crappy team, the guy usually, the guy is never dropped. He even on a bad team, he still puts up good numbers. He's probably one of the most talented goalies in the league. He's just not on a great team, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
back like 5-6 years ago, dude, when Anaheim was like still really good with all the older guys, when they were still on the back end of their prime and like making the playoffs, John Gibson was always like a top 5 goalie those years when he was young. If Anaheim has a good team, I'm all over John Gibson. Like I'm a huge fucking fan of John Gibson.
for sure. Yeah, you got next here.
Yeah, so these next, I have 2 guys to talk about as the same thing because I think this little write-up here is going to work for both of them. So I'm lumping these Islanders forwards together, Matt Bartzel and Anders Lee. So just think of these 2 guys as the same for what I'm about to say, Matt Bartzel and Anders Lee. The Islanders will hopefully have a more offensive-minded game plan with their new coach. So I'm going to bank on that in the 5th or 6th round. Even that seems a little early, maybe even later, 8th, 9th round for Matt Bartzel and Anders Lee. I just think they have a bounce back year. I mean, I think the guys are so talented. If you look back on their careers, I mean, last year was definitely a down year for both of them, and I think that's not going to be what they do this year. I think they're going to do better. I think the whole team's going to do better this year. So I'm kind of excited for Matt Bartzel and Anders Lee because I think they're going to outperform where they're ranked. So I'm just, that's something to watch, something to consider. I think they're going to definitely have bounce back campaigns. You might be able to get good value on them. Matt Bartzel, when he's putting up great numbers and he's, confident
Lee, you
and everything.
can get late. He's average draft position 221. Would you go higher than that?
Yeah, I would go higher than that. I think they're going to be way better.
How much higher?
I mean, I didn't think they would be ranked that. I honestly didn't think they'd be ranked that low. That seems very fucking low.
Are you spelling this guy's name right? Barzel?
Yeah, Bartzel. He's
it's Matthew, not Matt. He's higher than Anders Lee. He's 177.7 draft position.
Yeah, but I think both of them are going to have breakout year. Bartzel's the one that you'd want over Anders Lee. Bartzel's the more talented one. He's the center. Okay. Anders Lee is just like a goal-scoring guy, but I think both of them are going to do better this year. So those are guys that I have on my watch list, like just seeing, how the draft rooms are falling, and I'll try and get good value on these guys. I think they're going to be ranked late for sure, which you just confirmed that they kind of are. So that's way later than I was thinking they'd be ranked. Yeah, that's like 12th, 13th round where they're ranked. I would be thinking about taking them there for sure.
Okay.
Next, Jake, you got this
Jordan
guy.
Jordan Binnington here. He can't do worse than last year, and even in the second half, he was rosterable. Like, he was having some good games. He was just switching out with the other goalie, so it was more 50-50 at the end of the season, but he was already starting to bounce back in my eyes, and you're hoping that he can bounce back to their Stanley Cup year, starter level, and you can get a steal for him. He's average draft position 128.8. What do you think, Zach? I really like him this year.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Binnington too. I think that he's gonna bounce back. I mean, last year was so bad of a year for him.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's any way he could do worse than last year. I would take a chance on him later where they're going to have him ranked. So I would take him as like my second goalie, third goalie, possibly even, try and get some value there.
Yes, sir.
And then our next guy, Dougie Hamilton, defenseman. on the New Jersey Devils. I think he's primed for a new healthy season, and I think he's going to get the top power play time that we're accustomed to. Last year was just a very weird year for him. He was dealing with injuries. He just couldn't stay consistent. He was moving all around the lineup. I don't know what was going on, but I'm hoping that Dougie Hamilton is going to be getting back to his like top power play ways. I'm just going to go on Daily Faceoff here and just check because preseason is starting. Just going to see real quick where they kind of, where the New Jersey is kind of playing guys right now, because that's usually a good sign for like the beginning of the season. Okay, good. So they do have Dougie Hamilton on the first pairing, first line defensive pairing. So that's good to see. Last year he was all over. He would play first line, second line, and third line. They'd fuck up his minutes all the time. It looks like they have him for the preseason right now as first line defenseman. And they got him on the first power play. That's beautiful. So with that just makes me want Dougie Hamilton even more. I'm thinking he's going to break out. We're just going to see where that goes. But I mean, I think you're going to, with him, if that sticks, I think you're going to be getting great value on Dougie Hamilton this year.
Sure.
Cool. Next guy, I'm a huge fan, Brock Besser. The Canucks as a team are going to be much better this year. You saw it over the second half of last year. The whole team improved after they got Bruce Boudreau behind the bench, and he just really got that team disciplined and in line, and on schedule. And everybody did better after that. Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson, Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, all these guys did so much better the second half of the season. I'm a big Brock Besser fan. I really like him. Plus he's in he's a right wing, which if you're in a league that does like the different positions like left wing, center, right wing is not a very deep position. So, I mean, I think that you'll get good value on Brock Besser as a right wing. And I think he could be one of the better ones when it's all said and done next year. I think he could be a top 15 winger. And last year he was also dealing with like his dad was very sick last year, and he's very close with his dad. And so last year was just tough mentally for Besser. I think that was really affecting him on the ice. He was just struggling dealing with that kind of stress. So I think, now that everything is getting a little bit, better, I think that Besser's going to have a better season. So I think things are going to get better for Besser.
My God.
All right. So yeah, Brock Besser, be looking for him in the later rounds. You'll get good value. I think he's going to get back to his good scoring ways. And then next year we got Evander Kane to wrap up the bounce back. So I just want to start this off by saying I don't think this is so much going to be a bounce back year for Evander Kane. The only reason I put him on here is because I think he's going to play a full season now that he's not suspended indefinitely. So that's the only reason I got him on bounce back, because I think he's actually going to play a full season. But he's a player I'm super high on for this year. He is no doubt going to be stuck on the top line with McDavid. He bangs a shit ton, and he also shoots, blocks, passes. The talent level he has is crazy. His body just needs to hold up for a full season. I mean, bangers like that, you always worry about them getting hurt. But in 47 games played last year, he scored 22 goals and 17 assists, only 4 power play points. I expect that to be a little higher this year because his playoff power play points was much better. He also was just behind Nurse, Darnell Nurse had 196 hits in 71 games. He was just behind Nurse for second on the team in hits, and he only played half the season. Had 135 hits in only 47 games, over 4 hits a game. Next closest was Kyler Yamamoto with 114 hits in 81 games. So fucking draft this guy. He should go as early as 3rd or 4th round, and that'll be good value still for him. What do you think on Evander Kane, Jake?
Yeah, I don't think he's a bounce back. I think he is a beast. I love this guy.
The only reason I put him on bounce back is because he's going to play a full season, so that's why his numbers are going to be better.
Yeah, but that's not like...
Yeah, I know. I just wanted
the play wasn't bad.
I think some people still need to be told about Evander Kane, so...
Yeah, you just want to blow your little pick up, dude.
All right, so we're going to move on here.
Yeah.
Regression imminent. I want to talk about these guys because I think their numbers are going to go down. I just have a couple guys to talk about here. All right, so regression imminent. Devin Taves. I'm gonna die on this hill. Uh, unsustainable is pictures in the dictionary. And the more I look at his stats, the more they look like it doesn't look like unsustainable. But I'm just gonna die on the hill, like I said. I'm just reaching for stuff because I just don't. I'm not a believer, but every year of his career, his ice time has gone up and his numbers have gotten better. So maybe he's actually developing and coming into his own. But I'm just going to say that he's not going to be as good as last season because I think Bowen Byram is going to start breaking out, and I think he's going to start taking away a little bit from Devin Taves.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was 8th in the Norris Trophy voting. I mean, he did have a really good year last year.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm just gonna say that wherever you draft him this year is going to be over drafting. I think he's going to be ranked too high.
Average draft position 112.9.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe not. I'm not a Devin Taves guy, so I'm going to be staying away. But I mean, maybe he has another good year. I'm just not a Devin Taves guy. So what do you think about?
We know.
What do you think about Taves, Jake? You think he's going to do the same?
I think he's a good middle fill-in with obviously some upside based on last year.
Okay.
I'm not going to reach for him, but
maybe someone you can look at. I mean, if he is still ranked low, I thought he would be ranked higher than that, 112. I mean, geez,
that probably means they're expecting, like their ranks are expecting regression as well. Like he won't be that good.
Yeah, maybe people are thinking that too.
He's still rosterable. I mean,
he's definitely rosterable. I wouldn't be taking him really earlier than that.
Okay.
Next, we got Tony DeAngelo. Still talented, but he is on a much crappier team now. We'll see how he does on the Flyers. I'm not thinking that he's going to have the same year that he had last year on Carolina because Carolina is just a much better team. So I don't think that he's going to put up the same points as he did on Carolina. So I'm not on the DeAngelo train this year. I wouldn't want him.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't think there's really much else to say there. I just think it's he's not a guy that drives play. He's just a guy that benefits from whoever's around him. And if there's not as many good players around him, he's not going to do as good. So I'm off the Tony DeAngelo hype. I liked him last year on a good team, but I don't like him this year on a bad team. That's pretty much as simply as I can put it,
For sure.
Moving on here, we got Nazem Kadri. Last season was definitely an outlier for Kadri. I'm not sure how sustainable it is. And I'm cautious to get him with the early pick required this year. Plus, Calgary, while good, is not a Colorado team. Jake, what do you think about Nazem Kadri?
Yeah, average draft position 107.1. I am not a fan. I'm probably going to dodge, but looks like he's still high owned and whatnot. So
yes.
Yeah, we're just not fans.
Yep. So last year he had 28 goals and 59 assists for 87 points. Do you want to know what his second highest point total is in his career, Jake?
Sure.
Yeah, it was 2016-17 on Toronto. He had 61 points. And, since he's been in the league, starting in 2010-11, he had 12 points. Next year, 7 points. Next year, 44. Next year, 50. Next year, 39. Next year, 45. Next year, 61. Then 55, 44, 36, 32. And then last year, out of nowhere, 87.
Thanks.
So, there's nothing in his past that says that he's a point per game player. So I'm staying away this year. I don't think he's going to repeat it. I'm just, he's definitely unsustainable in my eyes.
Dang. All right. Yeah. Well, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. I also think regressing Max Pacioretty. I'm a little worried about him this year, just his age. But he is on a good team. When he comes back later in the season, he's going to miss like the first 6, 7, 8 weeks, something like that. He's going to come back to Carolina. I would take him if he fell in the drafts, but I'm staying away with my early picks, but because of his injury, he's probably going to be ranked like way later. So he's a guy that if you have an injured reserve spot, maybe you draft and put on there and just see what he does when he comes back. But like, I don't know, that injury with his age, I think I'll still be kind of staying away this year from Max Pacioretty.
I mean, yeah, he's on injured reserve. He's average draft position 229. He's not high owned. I think, yeah, a lot of people are out on him. You just add him to the watch list.
Okay. So I guess the rankings are with me on that.
Yeah. And what are your sleepers, bro?
I got some deep sleepers here. These are guys I'm not going to spend too much of time talking on, but Matt Beniers, he's going to be a second-year center now on, on Seattle. Him and then Shane Wright is going to be having his rookie year, and that's the guy they just drafted with the the fourth overall pick this year. So Seattle is going to have two nice young centers. So I think those are some deep sleepers, the guys you can put on your watch list and just see how they do.
His name is actually Matty Beniers.
Yeah, Matty Beniers. Yep.
No, it's like literally listed that way.
Yeah.
So you can't. Okay.
So I'm kind of looking at putting on them on my watch list, Matty Beniers and Shane Wright, just seeing how they do.
Well, Beniers is going to be drafted. He's ranked 157, like average draft position 157.
Okay, so he will be drafted.
So you might have to, if you want him, you gotta.
Yeah, I just think he's a sleeper because he hasn't really done anything yet. He played a few games last year toward the end of the season and like did good. So like we'll just see if that continues this year. But he looked pretty damn good. So and then I'd be all over the Shane Wright thing if he comes up and plays this year. Mm-hmm. And then Owen Power on the Buffalo Sabres. He was their first round pick last year, and he played he played a little bit of the season. He's going to be playing a lot this year. I think he could be very good. He's a number one type defenseman, offensively skilled. So I'd be looking at that. I'm a fan of Owen Power. Moving on here, Capo Caco, young forward on young center on the Rangers. He's gonna be playing on the kids. He's gonna be playing on the kids line with Alexis Lafreniere, and he's gonna be playing with Philip Cheadle, or Heedle, I think they call him, but it's spelled like Cheadle, but I think it's Heedle. They did really good in the playoffs last year, so I think they just break out and continue that into their season this year. The kids line, all the young guys. So I'm going to be looking for all three of them later in drafts: Capo Caco, Alexis Lafreniere, and Philip Heedle. I think those guys can be decent sleeper picks. Next, just a guy to watch, Logan O'Connor. He's a talented player. He's on the Colorado Avalanche. I think he's going to get more ice time this year, and he's a pretty good all-around forward center type. He shoots, he hits, he blocks. He does everything. He does a little bit of everything. He gets a little bit of power play time. I think he gets power play 2 time, but like he still gets some power play time on a very good team. So he's a name to watch. Maybe you can get him with like your very late picks, or maybe even he's a waiver guy, in the beginning of the season. I'm kind of a fan of Logan O'Connor. He does some things that kind of impress you when you watch. But I think maybe he can break out even more this season.
Didn't you have this guy? No.
I didn't have him. No.
No, he was like a streamable guy.
Yeah, I streamed him a couple times last year, but I never had him like consistently.
Yeah, this guy might be. I mean, he's only 0.5% rostered. Rank or average draft position 229. You might be another watch list guy.
Yeah, I think he's more of a watch list guy.
Last pick, maybe.
Yeah, last pick, maybe. Yeah, for sure. Next, I got Dylan Cousins, young center, also on Buffalo Sabres. Just seeing how, if there's any kind of development going on with him. He's not going to be a guy you pick. He's going to be like a waiver wire guy if he does anything. I think he could get on maybe some hot streaks. Nobody that you'd draft, but he's a guy you could put on your watch list immediately and just see how he does toward the beginning of the year with like this new young Buffalo team.
Sure.
And then another guy, I don't think he's being drafted, but Quentin Byfield. Young player on the LA Kings. If he gets some ice time this year and they're going to start putting him out there more, I think he's a very talented player. He was like a first round pick. I think he was a first overall pick two or 3 years ago. and he just hasn't really gotten a lot of time with LA yet. But I think if he gets out there, he could really be a nice player for them. So just be watching the Byfield news and just seeing about him. He's a name that intrigues me. And then next here, I just got 3 more guys to talk about here. So next, Tanner Jeannot. He bangs and scores some goals. So that's always what you like in a banger league, a banger that scores some goals. So if that keeps up, this kid's a must draft in a banger or categories league. You love to see it because he gets you goals. He had 25 goals last year, and he had like over 200 hits.
Yeah. He might just be a sleeper, not a deep sleeper, because people are catching on, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And his average draft position is 154, so you have to grab him.
So he will be drafted. Okay, I think I would draft him just because those banger guys are fun, and we're in a banger league, so I think
he'll do good.
He'll get nice consistent points with that because he does hit a ton. So, and if he scores some goals for me, even better. He'll put up great stats.
Sure.
And then I already touched on this guy, Alexis Lafreniere. I'm a big fan. Well, not a big fan. I mean, I think he's going to have a better year this year. He looked impressive in the playoffs last year for New York, and I like that line that he's on, him and Kakko and Philip Hedl.
Okay.
I think that they might do something this year. I think I'm projecting that they do, that line puts up some good numbers, and I think Lafreniere has a good year.
Nice.
So I'll be looking at him later rounds, just seeing how the rankings are going. I got to check on the rankings still, but I think Lafreniere could be decent.
Sure.
And then lastly, another rookie from last year, Matt Boldy. He got some playing time in the second half. He's a good young prospect for the Wild. He was a first-round pick in 2019, I believe. So will he be on the Kaprizov line? Because that's basically where I think he has value if he's on the Kaprizov line. Last year, in 47 games played, he had 15 goals, 27 assists, and 10 power play points. I think Boldy keeps developing, and he has potential to be like a top-line guy. And if he plays with Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy's going to have a huge breakout year next year.
Sure.
So Matt Boldy
like
might be
it.
the one I'm the most high on out of all my sleepers. So
Okay, let's make sure where his ADP is then. Average draft position 159.3.
yeah, so if it was between him and Tanner Jeannot, I would take Matt Boldy.
Okay, gotcha.
Nice. But they're ranked pretty similar. It looks like right around the same spot. So I think that's good. These are definitely deeper sleeper guys. So Jake, let's talk about your sleepers, huh?
Yeah, one of my sleepers, Jacob Vrana, and 37 total game.
Vrana.
Okay, well, thanks for cutting me off. All right,
it's okay.
In 37 total games with Detroit, he's scattered over parts of 2 seasons. The dual-eligible winger has tallied 21 goals and 30 points. Pro-rated over 82 games. That's a 47-goal, 66-point clip. Average draft position, 166.1. I'm seeing on ESPN average draft position is 210.2. I mean, he was I picked him up at the end of last year. I remember streaming this guy, and then, when he gets low minutes,
Yeah, I can't believe I missed him, dude, in my talks, because I'm super high on Jacob Vrana, too. I'm looking at him for this year. I think he's definitely a 35-goal plus scorer, pushing for over 40 goals. I like him a lot. He's a first line. He's going to be on the first line on Detroit, who improved. So I'm pretty high on Vrana. I love that.
Okay, for sure. My second sleeper, Alex Tuch, in 50 games with his hometown Sabres, following off-season shoulder surgery and a trade from Vegas. He tallied 12 goals and 38 points. Long story short, the 26-year-old was on pace for a career-high 62 points. His average draft position, 164.9. And then average draft position on ESPN, 170.9. So he should have like a nice bounce-back year.
I'm in agreement with you, man. I think he's going to do good. That whole first line, I think, is going to do really good. Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, and Jeff Skinner. I think that's a really good first line, and I think he's going to push for definitely over 60 points. I think I would take the over on 60 points for Alex Tuch.
Gotcha. Okay. And then my third sleeper, Tyler Toffoli. After being acquired from Montreal last February, Toffoli was utilized largely in a third-line role. by Daryl Suter for the rest of the season, and now he's in the Flames. It's highly likely that he starts the season on a line with Lindenholm and newcomer Jonathan Huberdeau.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his average draft position has gone up, but it was 165.1 in ESPN. It's 109. So, but he should have a really good year.
I agree, and I'm just gonna look real quick on. I'm gonna look real quick on Daily Faceoff here to see what Calgary's doing.
Okay.
Just to see where they kind of for the preseason, and right now they do have Tyler Toffoli on that top line with Elias Lindholm and Jonathan Huberdeau. That's huge for Tyler Toffoli. I'm surprised that he's on the first line over Andrew Mangiapane. But they're going for like a banger line on the second line with Kadri, Blake Coleman, and then Mangiapane is like the scorer with those two guys. So that might be better for Mangiapane, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyler Toffoli is right now on the first line. He is on the first power play too. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Tyler Toffoli, that average draft position, that's a steal if you get him there for sure.
For sure. Yeah. If you are a believer.
Yeah.
And then my last sleeper, Oliver Bjorkstrand. I'm a big fan of him. Zach, maybe not as much, but both he's now on the Kraken, if anybody didn't know, and both the advanced metrics and eye test checks out on the 27-year-old who's coming off a season where he notched a career high in goals, 28, and points, 57. He's expected to start the year on Seattle's number one line, and that means a ton of exposure to Calder contender Matty Beniers. And his average draft position, 167.3. In ESPN leagues, it's 148.9.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be his best year yet.
It could be, and we'll see.
That's why he's my sleeper.
He's your sleeper for sure. Yeah. Oliver Bjorkstrand. I mean, I like him. He's a good goal scorer. I would be probably looking at him that late. I wouldn't overdraft him though for sure. If he was at 167, I'd probably take him because the goal scoring upside is there for sure.
For sure.
He's a guy that could push for 30 goals, and you get him that late. I mean, that's a nice pick. Even if I like him or don't like him, I don't like him. I don't like him higher than the 150s, 160s for sure. I wouldn't draft him early. That's all. Yeah. But if he lasted there, I would take him. It's not like I'm really. I'd be doing. That's like what is that? Like a 14th, 15th round pick there. I mean, a guy that can get 30 goals in the 15th round. I think who wouldn't be all over that? Yeah,
talk yourself into it.
I talked myself into him being ranked at a good spot. That's nice to see. All right, so yeah, good. That's a really good list of sleepers there, Jake. Guys that I kind of missed. I really like that. Nice work there, partner.
Thanks, dude. I try.
Yeah. So now we'll move on to. We're gonna move on to big bangers for banger leagues.
Hell yeah!
Nope, sorry.
So done.
Oh yeah!
Oh my god!
So yeah, now welcome to our big banger section for banger leagues. Thank you for waiting. This is the part of the show that everyone likes, because who doesn't like talking about big bangers? So, guys to mention here, Jake. I know you love this guy, Radko Gudas. 355 hits last season for the most hits in the league last year by a lot. This guy is the last 3-4 years has been the most hits in the league. All this guy does is hit. He's a huge banger. So, this is always in our league, Jake, that does count hitting stats. He's definitely a guy that can be drafted because even though he doesn't score a ton of points, he gets a ton of hits, which always have him ranked pretty decently, above 3.5 usually in our league. Because he'll get 5-6 hits a game. Which is insane. I mean, that makes him average 3 all in itself in the way our league is points are scored. So I mean, just in hits alone. So if he gets 1 assist or a goal or something, he puts up a really high point total that game.
Mm-hmm.
So Radko Gudas, he's a fun guy to have in a banger league. And so you can get this guy really late. Sometimes he doesn't even get drafted in our league, Jake. So, I mean, this is a guy that you can definitely get with like maybe your like last round pick, and he'll just be steady for you.
Nice.
And then moving on, another big hitter, Tanner Jeannot. We kind of touched on him in my sleeper league. 3 sleeper picks. He had 318 hits last season. And he scored 24 goals, which makes him pretty valuable in any kind of banger league, banger counting stats. So Tanner Jeannot, I mean, if you believe that he'll keep it up for this season, continue it and not regress, I mean, he's definitely warranting of a draft pick in a categories league for sure. And then in like a banger league, absolutely should be drafted. And you people in those leagues probably already know about these two guys, but I think it's worth noting, for some of the fringe. I mean, Tanner Jeannot has fringe regular just points league value just because of his 24 goals last season,
Mm-hmm.
So Tanner Jeannot, though, big banger.
Big banger.
And then Brady Tkachuk, 270 hits last season. He's already a superstar player, so he's going to be highly drafted in any league. But it is worth noting that Brady Tkachuk is just one of the most well-rounded, versatile centers in the league. He does everything, and he does everything pretty well. 270 hits for a guy that can score I think he's going to be pushing for like 90 points this next season is pretty awesome. You don't usually see superstar guys putting up hits like that. So I'm a big fan of Brady Tkachuk. I love what he does. I just hope his body holds up because it's impressive what he does. And then just a defenseman, Luke Schenn, 273 hits last season. He's a guy you can look at later in drafts if you're looking in a categories league for sure. He'll be like an early round pick because 270 hits is a lot, and you could win. Just having him on a categories league team will win you hits most weeks. So like you'll definitely draft him just to fill out your hits category, and you can get him probably still late in a categories league as well. I mean, all he does is hit. So Luke Schenn, nice hitter. And then probably one of my favorite banger league guys, Evander Kane, does a whole lot. Evander Kane does a whole lot of banging, and he also gets hits in hockey, Jake. So,
oh my God,
definitely.
Ooh yeah! Can I get a
oh my God.
I'm a big fan of Evander Kane. Everybody knows that he's a talented winger, and then we already did a big discussion about him, but he is a guy in a banger league to talk about. So, any other big bangers, Jake?
No, that's a good list. I'm all good.
Okay, so thank you for listening, everybody. This was a lot of information in this episode of talking about sleeper picks, bounce back candidates, breakout players. We hope that you found something that you like, something you were wondering about, and hope we helped you kind of fill out what you want to do with your middle to late rounds of your draft. And we wish you guys the best in your upcoming drafts, and let's do that hockey, everybody.
Yeah, like they're saying hockey. Do that hockey.
Do that hockey. So, yeah, with that, remember to go like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you get notified when our new episodes drop. And, leave us a comment. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us if you agree or disagree. We want to hear the feedback. And while you're doing that, also go over to our social media and give us a follow. We got all the social media. We got Facebook. Facebook.com/Garden of Sports Podcast. We have Instagram, Instagram.com/Garden of Sports, and we have Twitter, Twitter.com/GOSPod 2021. Go give us a follow. You won't regret it. And be right back here next week as we drop a fresh new hockey episode for you. And it's going to be a mock draft one next week. Sean Burke will be back. I know everybody's eagerly anticipating his return.
Totally.
And just thank you all so much for listening and take care.
Thanks, everyone.